Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 12th Comic Art Collector Conversation Show. And we've got our panelists in the room this evening. We got Ruben and Wonder Effing Woman.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 12th Comic Art Collector Conversation Show.
I've got an echo somewhere.
We've got our Ruben and Wonder Effing Woman.
I assume everybody's hearing it?
Echo somewhere.
Yeah, I muted myself to make, just in case it was me, but I don't think it was me.
Everybody's hearing
That's a peculiar one.
Yeah, I muted myself to make, just in case it was me.
That's a peculiar one.
Yeah, I muted myself to make, just in case it was me. That's a long echo. It's got to be Ruben, yeah. Hey, Bill, you're muted.
Because I tried me first, but then I muted Ruben and it stopped. So I'll unmute him and see if it starts again.
Hey, Bill, you're muted.
Yeah, it's Ruben.
I tried me first, but then I muted Ruben and it stopped. So I'll unmute him and see if it starts again.
I've muted him again. Hey, Ruben, all I would say to you is you've got your audio way too loud coming out of your speakers, and it's getting picked up by your microphone. So maybe Ruben won't go first tonight. We'll see. But that's usually how that happens, Ruben. It's you've got your audio is up so loud that your microphone picks it up.
That's why I started on mute, just in case.
Yeah. Well, that's why I thought it must have been me, because
Can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure I'm good. Good?
Yep, you're good, and everything is perfect. So good. Yeah, so good evening, everybody. We've got the regular crew and out there. Like, what we got? Dino, Sunday Fun Day, folks. And Mr. Easy Go Lucky and James. We got everybody in here. Hey, what do you think, Ruben? Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to test something again. You're muted though. We can't hear you, but the thumbs up will do. So okay, we're gonna give it a try. All right. Let's see. How's it going? We getting any more echoes? I don't hear. I think we're good.
I think we're good.
The video's way behind.
What video? Are you watching the YouTube channel?
Yeah, just close the video. Just only have StreamYard open. I think that's the best optimal.
Oh, I didn't even think you had that open too. Oh, yeah, that'll do it. You always have to have the YouTube window. You don't watch it.
He's trying to participate in the chatting. That's what he's trying to do.
Oh, well.
I'm good though. Is the sound okay right now?
Yeah.
Now it's good.
Yeah, Ruben. What you had to do, you had to mute the YouTube video. So I think just have it on StreamYard, but mute your YouTube video.
Right, or even just pause the video and just participate in the chat. It doesn't really matter what's happening in the video if you want to chat.
Yeah. I've got comments on, so I'm seeing comments, and if the sound is okay, I guess that's okay. But I can't participate in chat on StreamYard though, right?
No, but you can keep a separate window or a separate tab open, and you can work in there, but just leave the video on YouTube paused and just participate in the chat.
It's giving me flashbacks to another project that I've done with Ruben.
Well, there we go. All right. Well, that hasn't happened in a while. So that's all right. So problem solved. So somebody asked me what my new webcam is. I can tell you it's called a face cam, and it's by Elgato. Is that the name of the company? They're the ones who make those tweet decks or whatever they call them, the stream decks, where you can just plug stuff in. If anybody wants to know more about it, you can shoot me an email and I'll give you the model. But it is pretty. It looks like it was built in 1990 because it's 3 times as big as my last one, but it is so much better as far as the quality. So don't let the view, the way it looks, shock you. But anyway, so Kavi, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Since you're new here, we wanted to give you a few minutes to tell us a little bit about your experience in the hobby, what brought you here to this evening.
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me, Bill. Excited to be on with everybody here. Watching comic art live has literally been ingrained now into like my weekly routine, like between Dueling Dealers every Wednesday night and all the other shows that I usually watch on the Rewind, unless I'm able to catch them live. Thoroughly enjoying all the content. So I really can't thank you enough for getting more active on the YouTube platform, especially, and talking more about original comic art. in this space. So I do have to say thanks again for that and for including me here and inviting me. As far as my background, my name's Kavi. You can find me on CAF at Kavi H is my gallery owner name. I've been collecting original comic art since 2017 or so. I started with commissions / sketch covers and convention sketches and stuff like that. Graduated into published OA 2018, I believe, is when I bought my first published page. And it's just been spiraling or snowballing ever since. I do still collect comic books, as you can see around me back here. You can see original comic art and also like graded comic books and toys and other things. So I'm kind of into a lot of different collectibles in the geek or nerd or comic space. Star Wars, TMNT, Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, Disney stuff, extended Marvel and DC stuff, independent comics, all sorts of stuff like that. I pretty much got my little bit of a taste that I needed by going to San Diego Comic-Con back in 2014. I work in the music business, and I just ended up at San Diego Comic-Con in 2014 based purely on a non-comic book reason. I ended up there because of some work-related stuff I had in the music world. And that kind of just gave me that little bit of taste I needed. And ever since then, I've been pretty hardcore collector of graded comic books. And then, when that became, enough to, when I got so into the graded comic books that I started looking for whatever my next thing was, the original artwork started getting sort of attractive to me, and I started dipping my toes into that water. That is a first print TMNT #1 right there behind me. I see a question in the chat asking if that's the first print TMNT. It is. That's another major thing that I'm a fan of. What's up, Andy E in the house? Thank you. Good to see you, brother. A friend of mine. And another thing outside of CAF, I do share my own content on social media under Comic Books NYC on both YouTube and Instagram. I got onto YouTube about 2018 or so, sharing, haul videos and my art pickups and all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, I am from New York, New Jersey area. I was at Terrificon past couple weekend ago. I was at Big Apple Comic Con a few weeks before that. I try to get out to the Art Con. I don't go to every single one, but I'm trying to go. Hopefully, can make it out to the next one. I'm always at New York Comic Con, et cetera, et cetera. So I got a lot going on in the hobby, and this is just this is another thing that I'm excited to be a part of. Thank you.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you this evening, Kavi. So welcome to the show. And like I mentioned to you earlier in the green room, we'll definitely have to do a interview later.
I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, so since we got a little bit of a late start here, Ruben, you get to lead us off this evening, if that's still okay.
It certainly is, William.
All right.
Are we good to go?
We are good to go.
Okay, sounds good. So my topic for this evening is called full disclosure. As most people probably assume, yes, I am referring to sellers giving full disclosure to potential buyers. Anytime they're looking to sell something, and that's whether it's a collector, a dealer, whoever, it doesn't matter. My view of it is, of course, I'll say it right off the bat. I'm all about full disclosure. So I've always been about it. I believe firmly that you should always fully disclose anything that is out of the ordinary about anything that you're selling. So even if it's outside the sphere of original art, whatever the case may be. But we are obviously in the original art hobby, so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And so when I say anything out of the ordinary, I picked sort of three examples of things that typically would be out of the ordinary from the norm in original art. The first one being when you have paper aging / whiteout. I don't consider those things as condition issues, although some people do. It's just the normal part of the illustration process. The second thing is when a piece might have some accidental damage. So whether a piece might have been submerged in water in a flood or anything like that, fire, smoke, whatever. And the third example would be re-inked art. So it's, for those of you who haven't caught past episodes, there are certain pages in the hobby that unfortunately have faded or lost their pigmentation, the black pigmentation, and become sort of a maroon, brownish, purplish color. And some people have taken it upon themselves to get those pages meticulously re-inked. So that would be the third thing. The reason I'm bringing this up as a topic is simply because while I personally believe that any seller should always make mention of all these items that I'm bringing up before they sell an item, I've spoken to some people, and to my shock, have been surprised, if not, I guess shocked, that's the word, that some people actually don't, they told me it doesn't really bother them so much. I just want to make it clear, though, that I am not going to be referring to, and I don't want to talk about the actual act of, for example, like with the re-inked art, I don't want to talk about the act of getting art re-inked, for instance. I'm just referring to the full disclosure. If you did not get full disclosure, let's say, when you purchased a piece of art, and then when you received it only after the fact, you found out something about the piece, then it's kind of like, well, how did you feel? That's kind of what I want to put out to you guys on the panel and all of you guys in the chat. I'd like to see, I just want to try to get a sense of how many people kind of feel like I do and how many are on the opposite side of the coin where they kind of don't care, And so, Bill, I guess this would be a good time. Maybe we could put up the first scan, if you don't mind, starting off with the A scan of the Nasser Superman image.
Do you mind if I actually put them together? I thought you wanted to do like a compare contrast. Is that not how you wanted it?
No, I did, but that's okay. We can do it this way. That's cool. No worries.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. When you were saying A, B, I figured you wanted people to see A, B at the same time. Got it. All right.
I would have, if I wanted that, I would have just joined them for you, but that's cool. No problem. So this works anyway. So, all right, guys. So this is a piece that I own. It is vintage from the 70s. It's by Mike Nasser. Not really sure. In the 70s, they used to do a lot of sort of images where they do finished drawings and then put like that sort of black solid line in the background. And often that didn't happen with commissions. They often, when you see that type of background, it often meant that they used it for something like, I don't know, if anybody's familiar with the world, I think it's called the World of DC Comics. They had these sort of cardboardish covered, I don't know, booklets, if you will. Anyways, it was all about DC. Anyways, the point is, I was just going to say, is I'm not sure if it's published or not, but I'm on the assumption that it's not published. But that's neither here nor there. The point I'm just trying to make is that, for you guys watching, if you were, for example, to see the image on the left, okay, the one that's more cream colored, if you were to see that first, whether it's at auction, dealer website, wherever, you see that, you make a buying decision, you say, okay, I'll buy it. It gets sent to you. And then when you open up the package and it happens to look actually like you see on the scan on the right, which is what happened to me. Now, the funny thing about this is I actually don't mind. I'm really old school and I love paper aging. I love to see everything about the artistic process. So I'm not bothered by whiteout. And the yellowing or browning of the paper, to me, that gives a vintage pieces a lot more character. So I would never be one to take that piece on the right and sort of get it deacidified, for instance. But that's just me. I've spoken to some people who they're like, yeah, whatever. I would send it back because I don't like whiteout. Oh, I don't like paper aging, or I just hate the fact that it looked one way and then I got it the other. My view on this particular piece, because it doesn't bother me, and because I like how it actually looks on the right-hand side, that's how it actually looks. I absolutely would never return this. To me, this is, it is what it is. My whole point, though, is to bring up the fact that, well, why show it the other way? Why show it as it appears on the left? To me, I think most people would be like, okay, that's a great looking piece. If I'm a fan of NASA or Superman, I'll buy it, yellowing, whiteout and all. But so, like I said, there's people on both sides of that sort of argument. Now, if you can just jump to the second one, Bill, that would be great. And that would be, okay, we're going to this. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So this is actually interesting. This is this falls into the category of accidental damage. It's a Rusty Riley strip that appears to have had something spilled on it. It's no point to even, guess what may have spilled. The point is that if you look at the bottom piece, which, this is after it's been restored, that strip that you're looking at right there, that was actually sold at auction on Heritage just last week on the weekly auction. And I saw it go for, a pretty surprising amount, a good strong amount for, given the content. And it was cool. But what struck me about it right away, immediately when I saw it at auction, was that, being a strip fan myself, I am familiar with this particular daily. And I said to myself, I was like, wait a second, something about it looks off. And that's by staring at the bottom scan. I was like, something about this looks off. So I looked into on my hard drive and I found the scan that I had of it, which was the one on the top. And I said, oh, right, well, that's why it looks off, because, in my memory, there was something about it, right? And it was the fact that when I had last seen it, it was damaged. So this is an example where I think, well, the blame here is not on Heritage at all. The blame would be on whoever sent it into Heritage and obviously just figured, well, whatever, it looks better now, it's in better shape, it's restored, I did the right thing to keep it from sort of getting worse over time, I suppose. And so there's really no need to sort of mention the fact that it's been restored. For me, I just want to state again that I'm on the side of saying, yes, I do agree that it's a great idea that it was restored. I'm happy the guy did it, whoever it was. But regardless, I still, as a collector, don't want to be winning that and finding out that it used to look like the one on top. I would rather know in advance. And yes, I would probably still buy it or bid on it, even knowing that it used to look like the one on top. But it's just again, it's a question of just knowing all the facts that you need to know. And, I just feel like, people in this hobby that restore, they really should, go out of their way to mention to whoever they're selling the art to that, yes, I've restored the art. This is what it looked like. This is what was done to it. And, here you go. I will say something to everyone about restoration before I go on to my last example. With restoration in this hobby, sadly, there's one thing that I don't like. That's the fact that although there are a couple of people that I know of, at least, maybe 2 or 3 people in this hobby who do restoration, I've seen their work. They do very fine work. I don't like, however, the fact that there is no actual professional restorer, conservationist in the hobby. The guys that are in this hobby that are doing this type of work do it on the amateur level. But what I mean by that is that, as far as I know, none of the guys that do this in this hobby are certified none of them have gone to specific sort of trade type schools that teach you how to do this and been certified to do this. So I've asked some of them, not all of them, do you give documentation? Because I've had professional restoration work done on paintings in the past. And professional restorers should be taking copious, meticulous notes on every single little thing that they do, every step of the way, and keep a database of it. And if the customer requests it at a small extra charge, they should charge and then be able to provide you with a printout of everything that was done. Unfortunately, in our hobby, the guys that I know of who do restoration work, they don't do any of that. So they definitely don't provide records of what was done, even if you ask for it. And I seem to recall at least one guy when I asked telling me that no, they don't even take records for their own sake, like in a database, a computer database. So anyways, that's just something I feel that's missing in this hobby, and I wish the disclosure was really out there. Sadly, it's almost the opposite. I don't think I've ever seen at auction or on a dealer's website an example of something that, like a piece of art that I knew had been restored, and where the seller literally stated in the description that, this was restored. It looked like this at one point. Now it looks like this, which is, to me, it's sad. I just really wish they would mention it, because like I said, you think about that Rusty Riley strip. I mean, it's great. It looks horrific with whatever spilled on it, and it was fixed. It looks wonderful now. No problem. I'd like to own that, but I'd be pretty upset if I got it and only later on found out that it kind of used to look like that, because I guess it's just the honesty factor, like why hide it? It looks great now. Exactly. So why hide it? Just tell me what it used to look like. So that's my view. And if you could just, I guess, go to the last example, and then I'll throw up this whole question to the panel. So this is an example of a page from The Death of Captain Marvel. Just for those of you in the chat who aren't that familiar with this, pages from The Death of Captain Marvel by Jim Starlin. As far as I know, I can't say for sure, but I do believe all of them ended up turning purple. Like, again, that maroon, more of a maroon color, maroon, brownish, reddish color. Over time, the black pigmentation went away. And so over time, some people have gotten some of these pages re-inked, whether it's by a restoration person or an artist or who have you. It doesn't really matter who does the work. And I just want to make it clear that I'm not bringing this particular example up because I want to, sort of speak about the issue of, should people re-ink faded artwork? That's something for another day. My question to everybody else is, if you, for example, weren't aware of the history of these pages, and you decided recently, hey, you know what, I want to pick up a page of Jim Starlin art from the Death of Captain Marvel, and you put it out there on social media, for instance, and somebody reaches out to you and they say, hey man, I got a page I'm willing to sell if you're interested. And you say, okay, fine, yeah, show me and give me a price. And let's say the guy shows you the scan that you see on the right. You look at that and you're like, okay, yeah, that's good. I like the content. Some nice Spidey and Beast images on there. I'll buy it. So you spend the money. It costs thousands of dollars. You take it. You're happy with it. At some point down the road, let's say somebody suddenly gets in touch with you because, let's say you've posted it on CAF or something. And now you're showing it off on CAF, and somebody says to you, they get in touch with you and they say, hey man, look, I'm not sure if you're aware. I just think you should know, in case you don't know, this page used to look like this, right? And that person shows you the scan on the left, where it's got that maroonish ink looking color ink. How would you feel? I guess my question is, I guess, it looks better, darker. But now that you know the history of what, of these Death of Captain Marvel pages, how would you feel only finding out after the fact because the seller did not disclose the history of the page? And so with that, I just want to put that out there on either of these 3 examples. And of course, there's a 4th one. I don't, time's limited, so I don't want to get into that. The 4th one would have been when somebody sells you a page, it looks beautiful, nice jet black inks, and only later you find out, oh, it's only the inks, but the pencils are elsewhere on another board, So yeah, what do you guys think about that whole thing? But again, specifically on, not whether it should have been re-inked or if the strip should have been restored. I don't care about that. Just on the whole disclosure thing. I just want to know what you guys on the panel think and you guys in the chat.
I don't think anybody is going to be looking for less information about what you're looking to buy. And Ruben, I don't know if I'm the only one getting an echo, but okay, there we go. So
I was getting it too.
Okay, cool. So I don't think anyone's going to be looking for less information about the art they're going to buy, and I think it's every buyer's personal preference as to what they do think harms the overall value of the art or what doesn't harm the value of the art. Like some people, I think most people would understand the aging of paper, would understand, some of the older methods that were used about some original whiteout, some of those kinds of things, maybe some tape on there if that's how they happen to put the word balloons on the art and it was still a piece of the original art. But of course, there's a problem when you don't disclose things that are unnatural, tears, restoration that, I've seen pieces out there where someone just got a personalization removed.
Yeah.
I think that's something that should be disclosed, things like that, if it wasn't the way that it was originally. But yeah, I'm with probably, 90% of the comments in here about full disclosure, just being open and honest and ethical. Also additional pictures. If you do have an area that is damaged in any way, blow that up so that the buyer has a good idea about what they're getting into. So there's less conflict later. That's always the best bet.
So I'm just curious, Jill, on the 3 examples that I posted, are you saying you're with me on all 3? None of them they all would bother you on all 3 examples?
None of those would bother me as long as it was fully disclosed.
Oh, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. It would bother you if it had not been disclosed. So you're on my side, is what you're saying.
Yes.
On all 3 examples. Okay. All right.
I mean, for me, it's honestly until you brought the topic up, Ruben, it's something that I don't find myself thinking about too often. Right. And maybe it's because I'm a newer collector, 4-ish years of experience. And I think the majority of the pages I buy are modern. Like I will go much longer period of time between buying a vintage piece than I will buying, I guess more lower key modern pieces. So I tend to collect a heavier percentage of
Sure.
modern pages than I do the vintage stuff. So when I'm seeing like a listing on a dealer site or on an auction, my head doesn't gravitate to, well, what are the physical flaws of the page? And I maybe I should spend more time thinking about it, but I would of course love as much disclosure as possible. I think it's hard to disagree with wanting the disclosure, wanting the full disclosure. Of course, I want as much information as I possibly could get before making a purchase decision, right?
Right. And let me just say, I know that it seems obvious, right? And you're probably, you might have been wondering like, why? Well, of course I want full disclosure, right? It seems obvious, right? So this, and I agree, this should not even be a topic. Right? I shouldn't have had to bring this up. The only reason I decided to bring it up is because I had been speaking with people who claimed that they would not have been bothered. And it just blew my mind. So I was just like, God, either this guy's nuts or he's got some alternative reason to sort of, stick up for the kind of people who don't disclose these types of things, whatever. I couldn't believe it though. So I thought, you know what, who knows? Maybe there are other people out there who are not bothered and just, they're happy to have the art and whatever, so I just figured, let me just put it out there and ask, a group of people that, I figure there's usually at least 75 people watching plus the panel.
I do see the comments in the chat about with modern, the bigger concern being like, what is the actual medium on the page? Was there blue lines? Was this inked on a separate board? That kind of stuff. And I always do ask those kind of questions, or am curious for that kind of information. I guess I never considered that a condition. Like I don't, for whatever reason, I still collect comics, so I associate the word condition with, very fine to fine plus, fine plus to very fine, and what are the parameters for condition does that equate to in my head when I'm looking at a comic book? I guess I have less experience or just less direct knowledge of the different condition issues that exist within more vintage comic art. So this was eye-opening, a little educational and interesting for me to see. So thank you.
Oh, we're good. I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So Ruben,
go ahead, Larry. You first.
Okay. So Ruben, I would say for that Superman example, I'll be honest with you. I mean, usually I'm okay with whiteout. In modern pages, you probably can't even see when someone scans it and puts it on the screen. But on yours with the like yellow paper and the whiteout on it, that's really distractive. Mm-hmm. So I would have a problem with it. I mean, that thing looks like bird drops on it, Yeah. So, I think if someone was trying to sell that as a clean white that you did on the left, that's deceptive. Mm-hmm. I have a real problem with that because that looks really different from the one on the right. And let's say it was Neil Adams instead of Mike who drew that. And let's say the price was $1,500. Okay, that's probably underpriced, but I got the Superman. Okay, it's not what it doesn't quite look like what I wanted, but I think for $1,500 is probably a good buy. Now let's say I tried to pay $10,000 for it because I was expecting the image on the left. And I got that on the right. I would have a huge problem with that if I spent $10,000 because that $10,000 I was looking for a perfect Neil Adams Superman. I agree. As much as some people will deny, and I've talked with people who have denied it, the amount you spend absolutely does make a difference, for sure, right? Because the cheaper, let's face it, the cheaper you go, you might spend, let's say you're somebody whose budget is in the range where you can afford multi-$1,000 pieces, right? And so for you, say a $500 or $200 piece is considered, low end. If this happened to you on, say, a $200 piece or even $500, you may be saying to yourself, "Oh man, what the hell is this? Like, why wouldn't you tell me about this?" But you'd say, "Whatever, I still like it. Whatever, $500, $200, I'll keep it, right?" But like you say, if it's $5,000, $10,000, whatever, suddenly the morality of it all becomes a lot more important. If you're like, "Whoa, what happened?" At that point, at least I want to have a discussion with the guy who sold it to me, and then I'll decide as to whether I want to keep it or not. But and I also want to bring up something else about full disclosure. So as we know, in the famous Frank Miller Daredevil run, Frank Miller didn't pencil some of the later issues of that Daredevil run. That was Daredevil. That was Frank Miller layouts and Klaus Janson pencils. So
layouts on separate pieces of paper, just to be clear.
Right.
Smaller
things like
separate pieces of paper. Yes.
Things like that. If the dealer knows about it, they should be disclosing it. Anybody who knows about that should be disclosed. But there's some onus also on the buyer to do some research on that as well too.
That's true. But let me just tell you really quick because you brought that up. For years, starting back in the late 90s, for years, every single time I saw a seller, whether it was a dealer or a collector, I saw them selling one of those pages, I would contact them because, on the assumption that they don't really know how Miller and Janssen worked on it. And I would tell them, and I would explain carefully, in great detail, exactly what those pages are. And to a man, every single one of those people ignored me. Or, I don't mean by not responding. Some of them responded, some of them didn't. But every single last one of them still just kept whatever information on the description that they had. Nobody added the information I gave them. Nobody wanted to disclose anything because guess what? Nobody wanted to be the last man holding the bag, right? I'm not going to, because some of these guys some of these guys were just learning for the first time about this, right? And I get that, but still, nobody wants to be that person holding the bag. So everybody's like, well, let me just sell it first.
Well, yeah, this is going a little off the topic of changes to the art. Okay, false advertising is different than full disclosure on restoration stuff. That's a different place to.
But go ahead,
conversation for another day.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts. What you were going to say before?
No, all I was going to say is, typically, very often, I don't want to, I could belabor it the same thing, but very often the collector knows they got stuck with something they didn't want, and then they turn around and sell it to somebody else without full disclosure. I mean, everyone is at fault with that. I've seen collectors get burned by other collectors, and collectors burn dealers, dealers burn collectors. Yeah. It's a big problem. If it's an issue with you, at the end of the day, it's not like grading comics, because with grading comics, when it's restored, you can go and switch and buy another one that's not been restored. With art, you either take it as is or you pass. Yeah. So it's a totally different game, sure. But so at the end of the day, I'd say I can't think of anyone who wouldn't wish that there were full disclosure on any alteration done to a piece of artwork before they bought it, if at all possible. I mean, those of us who's been around know when certain things have been done to a cover, because we've seen it, over the last 20 years pass through different hands, and when an alteration's been done, and you'd wish that maybe somebody would mention it, but at the end of the day, so there you go. That's all I was going to say. Yeah. I think everyone wants full disclosure.
Okay, can I just quickly ask, because when I speak, I typically don't also look at the chat. Was there anybody who was not bothered by when this happens? Is anybody in there? Did you notice?
Not a soul.
Wow.
Not a soul. But some people would say, yeah, I'd still be happy with that art or that art. I mean, at the end of the day, it's I think it's just a question of it's a person's choice. Again, it's the only one you can have. So if you in the Starland example, would you rather have a piece of art that's going to probably disappear in another 10 years, or because you love the story, you're willing to take a re-inked piece? Ron Lim will not take the re-inked piece, but there are other collectors that won't have a problem with that. Yeah. So sure, it's back down to just full disclosure is always good on all art sales.
That's why I was hoping to see if somebody in the audience was one of those people who may sort of speak up and say, yeah, I don't mind getting a re-inked piece, or and I'd love to see somebody who takes the other side of the argument, so to speak. So
nope.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone took the other side. I mean, I feel like you can see DF says I'm not bothered except if it's something that's being added. I mean, in those cases, of course, and in a lot of those cases, they're done so poorly it when you see it. So at any rate, and just as your comment about the restoration, I think if you were going to some place that actually documented everything, it would probably cost twice as much as the work that's being done by people who have been doing it for quite some time. And while they may not be certified and cross all their T's and dot all their I's like you would prefer it with your experience in restoration of paintings, I don't think that belittles the work that they've done for the hobby as far as cleaning and that sort of thing.
I did not, to be clear, I did not belittle the work.
No, I know, but you said they weren't as thorough as a real restorer. So all I'm saying is I think they do a very good job, but
the documentation is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Great topic, Ruben.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So Kavi, we're going to turn to you to show off the art picks that you made, and let me get those on the screen here. Here's your first one.
All right, this is Dark Phoenix by Arantxa Sestayo. Ruben, you could give me a pronunciation check on that?
Nice job. Okay. I would say Arantxa.
Arantxa Sestayo in the gallery of Tim Dury. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but great piece here by Arantxa Sestayo. I only recently discovered her work in the last, I think, month or so, and I really went down a rabbit hole of the images that were available that I could find online. I checked out her art book. Arantxa is a painter primarily from Spain and more of a fantasy illustration artist, I would say, I guess. But I have seen commissions out there of her take on comic book characters, and I just especially love this Dark Phoenix And I may not have all the right tools in describing art, which I know has been a topic. I loved hearing everything Chris Norick had to say on this show over a couple episodes, but I really love the use of lighting on this, and I hope I'm using that correctly, but in the fact that it's kind of a dark piece, dark Phoenix piece, but you have these crazy vehicle explosions that is obviously emanating from her powers. And then you see the explosions providing the lighting in the scene, like especially if you look at her, her lengthy hair there. You can see the essentially the explosions reflecting off the back of her head, and you see that reflective light come through her hair. I just love this particular image of Dark Phoenix. And when I first looked at this piece, I counted 6 or 7 vehicles. The next time I looked at it, I counted 8 vehicles. The next time after that I looked at it, I think I counted like 10 plus vehicles. Let me know what you guys think when you're looking at this piece, how many vehicles you can count, because I found that to be one of the most fun parts of looking at this piece in depth for a lengthy amount of time. I really love this piece. So.
Now, Aranza is actually a member of CAF, so if you wanted to look her up that way, she does have a CAF gallery, and she's been a premium member for a long time. I've met her a few times at IX. She's a phenomenal painter, and she's getting better at her English every time I've met her. So she's a really, like Ankur said, she's a sweetheart. She's a very, very talented and very fun lady. Yep.
17 and a half vehicles, according to Fred Chamberlain.
Get out your magnifying glass.
All right, and then this next one is Mary Jane Watson by Cliff Chang in the gallery of Ron Lim, who I believe is in the chat right now. Great piece. I'm a big fan of Cliff's work, and I believe this is part of a series of pinups that Ron had commissioned over the years and is now, I guess, recoloring himself directly, like, not directly on the original piece, but, over copy, I'm assuming. And he recently posted his coloring over this piece and several others to his gallery, which I thought was very cool. But Cliff Chang is one of my favorite artists, modern artists working in comics today. I'm especially a big fan of his work on Paper Girls, the indie book he did with Brian K. Vaughan. Of course, his work on Wonder Woman for DC as well. Just in my opinion, one of the best modern interior artists. Although he does cover work for Marvel, I selfishly wish he would do some interior projects for Marvel, and that's kind of why I enjoy looking at this piece. It's seeing Spider-Man and Mary Jane depicted by an artist that doesn't often get to work on that IP. And I love the use. I love the use of the positive space and the negative space on this particular image. The pattern on the skirt, just even the other guys on the street scene walking in the opposite direction, just give me this kind of, I don't know, this great New York City noir vibe. In a way, there are some bricks that make an appearance on this as well in the background building, and of course, just sneaking Spidey in, real, just the right size for this image, right there in the background, utilizing the negative part of the space. I particularly enjoy. So between this piece from Cliff and the one from Aranza, those are my picks for this week. So yeah.
Lovely art.
2 fantastic picks. Thank you, Kavi.
Thank you.
All right, Wonder Effing Woman, you are now up.
I am now up. So my topic for this evening is really Kickstarter fatigue. And let me explain a little bit about what I mean by that. So Kickstarter's been around a while, of course, and I'll lump Patreon in there a little bit too, and I'll kind of explain why. So Kickstarter's definitely been around for a while. It's, of course, a great way to interact with some great indie artists or artists who've already worked for, the big 2 and want to move on to do something creator-owned. I mean, certainly welcome all of those. I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to disparage anyone or any creator's art. My issue isn't the fact that they're doing Kickstarters. It's that when we got kind of the COVID pencils down orders, it just felt like we just got inundated as original art fans and people that really follow collectors and creators and really getting all of the information out there about, there was just this, we were inundated with additional Kickstarters that, I don't know about you guys, and I certainly want your opinion, but it just felt like, hey, what if I've only got one budget? I definitely want to support these creators with their Kickstarters. But the more you see them, the more it's like, hey, there are those pennies out the door for a book that I may really want, maybe a piece of original art that's part of a reward tier, but also all of this other stuff that I don't necessarily need. Sometimes it's pins, buttons, shirts, whatever doesn't necessarily float your boat. So all of those pieces raise the price of Kickstarters and don't necessarily, add to what I consider my core goal, which is to collect original art and books as well. If you're into, comic books and especially creator properties for those books. I will lump Patreon in there just a little bit because there was also a huge explosion of creators that got on Patreon. Also because I think it was another way for them to supplement their income with some of the pricing going down from the big two, or if they got a pencils down order, they needed to find another way to, quite frankly, pay their bills, put food on the table. So the way that I kind of think about Patreon is that I follow and am a patron of a lot of creators that offer original art. So I kind of view it as a payment plan, if you will, for original art. But Kickstarters are something else because it's their property. You may not necessarily have the same cachet as something that's a big two or a big publishing house like you like to follow. So I just kind of wanted to hear the panelists' thoughts about what you think about creators on Patreon, Kickstarter. Is it getting to be too much, just enough, not enough? I want to hear what you guys think. Well,
I've supported a few Kickstarters. See, Larry and I are dueling this evening at who's going to go first. But I haven't supported a lot of Kickstarters, although the ones that I have, I've had relatively good experiences with as far as the turnaround time. But I know what you're saying. When COVID happened, there was we did the same thing, right? We started doing these chats. We had the first Comic Art Live show. I felt the same thing, and I didn't feel overwhelmed by it because I kind of felt like everybody needed to find some way to earn a living while that time was out. But I get it. I mean, it was so hard to keep up with so many different creators doing Facebook streams and those sorts of things, and the Kickstarters coming out. I mean, it was almost impossible to follow it all. So I completely get you on that time. My worst Kickstarter experience was I won't say who, but I got a book from somebody it was like a compilation of their entire career. So someone who'd been doing art for a very long time, and the inside of the book was upside down inside of the hardcover. But fortunately, I let them know that, and they just sent me another one. So things can go wrong with your Kickstarters too.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience with Kickstarters, but I think I've contributed to maybe about 4 or 5 total. All of the experiences, with the exception of one, went smoothly. The one was a train wreck nightmare, but it had nothing to do with comic art. So I can't associate that experience with any negativity towards Kickstarter within comic art. Patreon, on the other hand, I've sort of passively supported dozens of creators, and at some point you kind of forget, like, well, what when the credit card bill recharges you like once a month, right, for everything that you're currently supporting. And I saw the number was in like the multiple hundreds at one point, and I was like, hold on a second, like, now I'm collecting comics, I'm collecting art, toys, other stuff, but after a while, just a little bit of passive contributions that you can make to literally dozens of artists through platforms like Patreon really add up to the amount of, I could have gotten multiple pieces per year with all that money. And I feel good about contributing to the artist, but I think there is a wide gap in consistency over sort of the package that you get for being a contributor. Like, some artists I contribute to because I literally enjoy hearing their updates. Like they'll type long, drawn out. Colleen Doran is a great example that I contribute to, where I'm happy just passively contributing to her, regardless of if the art is gonna catch up to the amount I'm contributing. Like the physical art I receive, right, may not catch up to the amount of contributing in what seems like a timely manner, but there's so much time in between that I'm enjoying the articles and the exclusive content that I'm being provided on a daily or weekly basis by some of those artists that those are the ones I would end up probably cut last from my overall contribution. But it is those kind of platforms, like, you can feel good about it, and then they can also snowball before you know it. Like, you don't, like, for me specifically, like, I had a hard time like cutting the clutter out of my Patreon existence, because after a while I was supporting so many different things that I was like, you know what, I really have to be more smart about the way I utilize that platform to support the community, or to support the artist community anyway. So I'm kind of with you, Jill, on the fatigueness of it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not feeling fatigued. I mean, I ignore a lot of them. But I will say the horror stories with Kickstarter, I mean, that they're probably 70% of the Kickstarters are probably successful, but I only hear about the 30%. Like the 30% that, they had their Kickstarter 10 years ago and they still haven't delivered. So
yeah,
I don't want to name any of them because we know some of them. And first, I have to want a commission from whoever's doing the Kickstarter. I mean, the Kickstarters who I have supported were not for art reasons. But if it was for art reasons, one, I have to see if I want the art, and two, how reliable are they in delivering. I know. Like, there are several Kickstarters who I think I trust them in terms of delivering. It's just probably not on time. And then there are those who, 10 years. You're still working on your first one. You haven't finished. So, I think the issue with Kickstarter is that there is some bad marketing going on because of some of the folks who are who has taken people's money pretty much. So,
well, there are a couple of places on, you can get on the Facebook groups, and, a lot of that kind of gets reported out in, comic art buyers beware, especially if it's a Kickstarter that involved original art. But I'm with you, Kavi. But my monthly contribution to Patreon, because you do get that bill the first of every month. I'm like, wait a minute, hang on.
Yeah.
So I guess to somebody's point in the comments, I guess you can definitely get addicted to supporting folks on Patreon, but I tend to not. There's only one creator I support on Patreon where there's not a Patreon level where it includes original art, because I kind of view it as my ability to get in there to get some early access to some things that you wouldn't otherwise normally get to. And especially when they have tiers that say, like, after 6 months, you get a piece of original art, or after a year, you get a piece of original art. That makes sense to me. That I'm more likely to support. But curious to, Ruben, what you think about Kickstarter, Patreon, any of that fun stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess my experience with it is probably the opposite of yours, Jill, in the sense that, well, first of all, I've only participated, I've lost track, but not many. I mean, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that. They've all been for books. For whatever reason, I feel comfortable doing it only if it's, I typically do it for art books. And the thing about it is that for me, what I mean by me using it the opposite way that you do is that, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm one of those guys who, ever since I first heard of Kickstarter years ago, and I'd look at them all and like, okay, yeah, we're getting this for this level and this for that level. And I'd be like, my reaction is always, who wants all that crap? Just give me the book. Just tell me how much the book is. Everybody who wants the book, pay for it in advance, and then we're probably going to be guaranteed to get that book eventually, right? And I'm like, I see all these tiers. Oh, with this tier, then you get the extra bookmarks and a couple of trading cards and stickers. And who wants that junk? Like, I literally, if you gave me that stuff, But that's the kind of stuff I would take it and okay, recycle bin for the week kind of thing, So for me, I like the concept, right? But all I care about is the actual product. If I think there's a good chance that the product will get made, right? And if it's something that's of interest to me, only then do I support it. But I will say that there was one that I did that I'm still waiting on, and it's a book, actually a hardcover collection. I guess it's a comic book in hardcover style. And what bugs me about the sort of those add-ons, right? Like you say you do it for the original art, which that's cool. That's cool because I would like to do it for those reasons myself. And I've tried. And on this latest one that I'm waiting on, I don't know, 3 years or something, what I really hated about it was that only after I'd already pledged, and that campaign was sort of like, I don't know, probably 23 days in or something like that. And I'm not tuning in on a daily basis, right? I check in one day, only to find that, I scroll down the page, the Kickstarter page, and I see that at some point they had added, at this level, give me this much money, and you'll get this awesome cover, original art. And I'm like, well, I would have bought that if you would have told me at the beginning, right? So they kind of like everybody's already pledged, and suddenly they kind of just willy-nilly come in and say, okay, we'll start offering some original art. It's just, I don't know, that just kind of upset me. The weird thing is I do know that, okay, in some cases maybe the artists are thinking, well, just to sort of keep it going and to add more money to the kitty, right, and help pay for all of this. I get that. But in this case, I then contacted the artist privately, figuring, they want to raise more money. I said, hey, I would love to get a piece of art. If you have another one of those at that price, I would love to buy it from you. Oh, yeah, I don't have too many left, so I'm not sure. It's like, what? So I don't know. It just, the whole thing is just, it frustrates me. Now, to your question, whether it's fatigue, I will say that oftentimes I'll get these emails that are like, see this on Kickstarter. I get fatigued by the constant emails. If only because a lot of those emails have to do with things that I wouldn't really be interested in. So I feel that they don't really do a good enough job of sort of, with their algorithm, sort of target marketing. But if they did something a little bit more towards my interest, it wouldn't bother me so much to get the emails. But, like I said, I've only done 5 or 6 of them. So I don't know that I worry about the fatigue so much. I could see from your point of view, though, Jill, that if you're in it more for the sort of the art and stuff, and you're constantly getting bombarded, and by the way, is that an issue for you? You sort of get upset with too much bombardment when they keep sort of promoting it to you at all, or?
No, it's not that. I mean, I keep who I follow on Kickstarter to a really bare minimum. So there's just 3 or 4 people that I see what they follow. But okay. And to the point about the extra stuff, the stickers and the whatever, a lot of times those are just unlocked golds. So you're not paying for it. It's just attached to, hey, we hit the $50,000 mark. Now everyone gets a bookmark. We hit everybody gets a sticker and a magnet, that kind of stuff.
I agree. And I've seen those. I brought that up only because I've also seen in my earlier days when I first found out about Kickstarter, I did see some that were like, contribute $1 and we'll send you the sticker. Contribute $2.50, we'll give you the bookmark. So it was actually part of the whole payment process. And I just thought, like, just give me the book. Who cares? Give me the book.
Yeah. Sometimes you can do a digital tier for cheap, and it gets you unless you want a physical copy, and then the physical copy is like the next more expensive tip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I like the physical book, anyways. But,
yeah. I agree. So it sounds like there's a varying amount, and I've loved all the comments. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. I think that this is a good topic because there's been lots of different opinions. Some people don't use it at all, which great. If that works for you, that's fine. Some people use it a lot. So I think it's a good topic to think through, and just all of the different ways that you can get access to creator content, art, books, whatever it is that really interests you to round out your collection the way you see fit. So I utilize it more as big, like trying to
be part of an artist community, or or literally content. Like, it's literally content I can consume, like I'm watching TV, but instead I'm scrolling through Patreon watching exclusive video updates that only the Patreon members get, right? So to me, that's where I find the benefit from those kind of platforms, less so than the actual physical accumulation of goods, I guess. So
I've never supported a Patreon. I'll say that, but I have wanted to, because like Mikhail mentioned earlier, that if you're supporting Adam Hughes, they usually let you know about art available there first, and I think those sorts of things are worth it, because some of those tiers on Patreon can be $1 or $2, and so I mean it's not like you're supporting them heavily. But if it gets you an inside track to an art drop that you wouldn't normally otherwise get on Facebook or through their website. I mean, Adam doesn't even have a website anymore. He only uses social media now. So if that's your best avenue to get artwork, then it'd be great if there was a list of all the ones that were out there, because then you could pick and choose and not have to feel like you have to scan all of Patreon to find the ones that you think might be valuable to you. So, and there you go. Fish Ruben, are you trying to say you collect for other people?
I see that.
You got to bring it up when it's a super sticker.
Little burn there.
Super chat.
Unlike you, Fish. You see, unlike you, Fish, I know when somebody's being funny or whatever. They're not being serious. They're not trying to razz you or I know when you're busting balls. So, anyways, yeah, that's good. But I love that. Thank you.
Very good topic, Jill. Or I'm sorry, Wonder Effing Woman.
Either one. It's all good.
Either one.
It's just because that's my calf gallery.
Oh no, I know. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
so
maybe not everybody else does though. But
that is very true. And I don't know if I linked to everybody's calf galleries in the description. I'll make sure I correct that afterwards. I've been trying to do a better outline of these shows too. I hope somebody's noticed that I've tried that, at least to get all the topics into the descriptions. And there is actually a page on CAF that does have all the shows on it, but the topics aren't there. So number one request that I've been getting, just so everybody knows, is give us a consolidated place on CAF that outlines all of these conversations and what the order of the topics were, so people can maybe jump around or just go straight to that topic. So it's something I'm working on, and hopefully by next week I'll be 100% caught up with all of that. But it's not, I'm listening to everybody's thoughts on that, and I'm trying to come up with a good way to make it easier for everyone to find the topics they want to be involved in. See, it's just like Patreon. We're inundating people with collector conversations, and they just can't keep up. They don't want to watch. They don't have to go through all 4 conversations. They want to go to the one that's most important to them. So we're creating the same problem for everyone. So, Larry, you get to do the artwork this time. So let me get your first artwork here on the screen.
Okay, so this is, Lee Week's cover for the Hulk series in Gallery of T.C. Shen. So before anybody's wondering, I've inquired numerous times for it, and he plans on being buried with this cover. But I love it. It's obviously it's an homage to Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer, and Lee Weeks just killed it. I mean, it's just awesome. So I loved homages to Frank Frazetta, especially Death Dealer, and this Lee Weeks piece is just amazing. I mean, Lee Weeks, he could just draw anything and just kill it. So.
Well, I agree. One of my favorite pieces on Cap too. I love it, and great.
One of the best artists of the last 30-35 years, for sure.
Without question. Nope, I completely agree, Ruben. Lee's just an amazing talent, and great pick. Fantastic pick.
All right, and this is obviously a painting of Princess Mononoke, and I know the first name is Clara, but I can't really pronounce the last name. But this is in a collection of Annabelle Kirby, who obviously is a dealer, and she reps this artist. But I don't have any pieces by this artist. But I'm a big Miyazaki fan, and I don't know, when when she was painting this, all the planets must have aligned. It's just she killed this as well. I mean, it's just look at that wolf, and then look at the glow on her. I mean, Claire Tessier, I think that's how you pronounce it, but I mean, this is probably an up and coming star.
French, Larry, I think you got it.
Okay. So, big Miyazaki fan, and this is just one of the most beautiful homages I've seen.
And there's
okay.
Tessier, yes.
That's a really cool piece.
I love the colors, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful colors.
Annabelle's got some great color artists. I've been picking up more and more from her stable.
Yeah, me as well.
I have one from Clara. I love it.
Nice.
Guess what? It's a Wonder Woman.
What a shock. Wow.
All right. Well, a pair of great picks, Larry. Thank you very much. And now for our Kavi, you get to lead us off. Yeah. This is your first one. So
Number 3, right?
We do a drum roll. Yeah, you are the third person tonight.
Okay. So the topic, as I typed it out, is enjoy what you have, and I think that could be a broad topic about a lot of different things. So I'm trying to make an attempt to narrow it. Last week on the show Collector Conversations, James brought up the topic of comic art addiction, which I thought I really got some, I guess, insight about my own collecting listening to that conversation. And I started to think about all the time throughout the week that I dedicate to buying new art, I guess, or finding my next piece. Between the zillion platforms that I have keywords set up on. I'm a premium member on CAF. I've got all my keywords set up on there. I got keywords set up on Heritage. I got keywords set up on eBay. I've got keywords set up in Comic Art Tracker. There's a weekly Heritage auction every week. There's, a couple, there's a Comic Link and a Comic Connect auction usually every month. There's other random auctions on eBay. There is the, obviously the signature auction cycle and featured auction cycle that Heritage and Comic Link both have. There's Dueling Dealers. I'm there every Wednesday night, from 9 to approximately 11. There's other claim shows that are popping up around the community. There's so many art dealers now with their own websites that I peruse. So I started thinking to myself, what is my percentage of searching for new art versus enjoying my own art? And I honestly wasn't sure where I was at. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, what are the different ways that I actually do enjoy my own collection, or that I actually enjoy my artwork? I think number one is having and maintaining and updating a CAF gallery is probably number one. I don't have to look at the analytics to know that I'm the number one visitor of my own CAF gallery, and that I'm pretty much always on my CAF gallery. As any chance I can get to look at my own CAF gallery, I'll take it. So there's that, obviously. Then there's also sharing my art with other collectors or friends through other mediums outside of CAF. I would say social media plays a big role for that as far as my enjoyment of my own collection, posting things out onto Instagram, sometimes occasionally the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I also kind of take sharing to another level by creating my own content. I have my own videos, I have my own Instagram story and things like that I own and operate and maintain. And, I try to build my own sense of community, I guess, by sharing at my collection. And I try to bring other collectors or other friends who are collectors into the mix, into those processes, and try to share as much as possible. I would love to do more, I guess, in-person sharing of my artwork with other collectors, like art meetups. I unfortunately was not able to make it to that meetup, the Society of Illustrators, the other Saturday, I think it was, which, I would have loved to have gone that, but I was too busy at Terrificon looking for my next piece of art. So, so I'm trying to think about balancing my, I guess, enjoyment versus constantly looking for my next piece of art. Not to say that I'm addicted, because I don't think I've put myself in financial danger necessarily. But this is all me critiquing myself, right? How am I enjoying my collection? What are the different ways that I can enjoy my collection? because a lot of us, I guess, also display art, you know, in there, whether it's in one room, throughout your rooms, or throughout your home. And I do that as well. And I do my best to mix up the pieces that I have displayed on the wall, because I live in New York City, so I'm dealing with very minimal wall space, right? So I have my 3 spots on the wall, and I have to constantly rotate pieces in and out of that to sort of enjoy them, quote unquote, right? But there's other things that I think about. Yeah, exactly. It's the time, dude. I totally agree with that. I was totally on the same page with Fish on that whole kind of discussion that took place. I think that was last week. But one of the things that I was thinking about was, well, what are some other non-traditional ways that I enjoy my own collection that not a lot of people talk about? And I guess I'll share 2, and then maybe you guys have other things that you do to enjoy your own collections that haven't really come up. But I guess 2 things for me. One is I really enjoy reading the original comic for the pieces that I own, right? Like some of them are tied to actual, you know, storylines or, you know, books that I love, and other of them are more art-driven purchases or art on the page. But regardless, I pretty much go out of my way to make sure I have some sort of physical copy, comic book, you know, trade paperback, omnibus, whatever it may be, some sort of printed example of the artwork that I own in my collection. And I, as often as I can, while I enjoy actual flipping through portfolios and looking at the art on my wall, to actually physically read the books that I own the artwork to. I've read every single comic that I own the artwork to. 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. I was just buying, you know, just buying. And I was kind of backtracking into experiencing the artwork in the way that it was printed, right? But nowadays, I make that sort of a part of my collecting mission, not only having additional fun by securing the comic book or finding it, you know, which in some cases, I still have some pieces that I literally cannot find. I cannot find the comic, you know, I just can't. It was a low print run, or it's just like not a popular book or whatever it may be. So that's an additional way of sort of having fun with my own collection is securing and then also enjoying the printed example of the artwork in my collection. And then another one, which is, I guess, even more non-traditional, I guess, is, you know, I work in music. Outside of comic books and art, music is sort of my number one artistic sort of outlet, thing that I've enjoyed in my life. So much so that I made a career out of it, right? And I went into that business full time, and I have been for the last 20 years. And so making playlists, you know, running radio stations, that kind of thing is something that I do every day for a living. But I took it and tried to apply that as well to the enjoyment of my comic art collection. So I have like a Star Wars comic art playlist that I will listen to whenever I'm looking through my Star Wars, or, you know, not whenever, but sometimes when I look through my portfolio, I like to pair it with music. So I have a Star Wars playlist. I have a Marvel playlist made up with a lot of the scores from the Avengers films and whatnot. I have a DC one with a lot of the like Hans Zimmer stuff. And so I like to pair music with my enjoyment of my collection when I'm flipping through portfolios. So I've been kind of diving even deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And now I'm starting to make playlists at the, I guess, the actual, title level. You know, like I'm working on a playlist. I think we talked about it earlier before for Paper Girls, which doesn't have a soundtrack and isn't a TV show that is out yet. But I have my own playlist for it already with a bunch of independent and like lo-fi music that, for me, when I hear that, it jives with the story that I read and it jives with the artwork that I own. So the blending between music and art is sort of, it's just combining all of my artistic passions in one thing. And that's another way that I can sort of enjoy my music and my art collection, enjoying the art that I have in my collection, because I get this sort of emotional sort of response from my artwork. I guess when I look at it, and I think more emotionally, I guess, in my art purchasing decisions often, like, yeah, there's nostalgia. Yeah. The art on the page, but like I get hit by looking at a piece of art, just like I get hit by listening to a piece of music. So, so that's kind of the way, like that's the way I see the Force, I guess, you know, through music. and I'm just trying to find more ways to enjoy my own collection, basically. That's the topic. I don't know. I didn't want to get too negative with the topic and go towards the addiction side, because I think there is danger in that, and you can, before you know it, you can lose control, and that's something that you shouldn't do. But how do you guys enjoy your own collections outside of the things we all know that we do, like look at our own calves and flip through our portfolios? Is there any other things that you guys do when you enjoy your own collections?
I think sharing it with others, like sharing it with people that aren't necessarily comic art collectors, because every single time someone's been like, "Oh, I didn't know you did that. That's really cool. This is really cool. I really like that." Like it's drawing other people into the hobby. And there's actually scientific evidence about how the more senses that you can engage when you're having an experience, the more memorable it is. So like you do with sound and sight, obviously, when you're looking at the art, maybe not taste, because that'd be
yeah, that's the only one. Like,
but have you thought about maybe lighting like themed candles? Like,
well, just the fire potential of the candle.
No, not right next to I mean, like across the room.
I haven't done that, but that's a great idea.
It's just another scent, like, sense that you're engaging as you're, involved in it. Maybe the smell of paper, like there are candle companies that will do this. And my husband is a history teacher. And so sometimes what they'll do is when they're helping their kids study for tests, and it's memory jogging. So if you're talking about, I don't know, the Industrial Revolution, sometimes you get like a smoke flavored candle or something, because the scent helps them remember and retain that information, and their test scores get better. So you could apply some of that to this situation too. But we're all enablers. We all love art. We all love, whatever you want to do for your own experience. We're not going to shame any of that. I think it's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's very unique, Kavi. And it's, it's funny. Ankur actually said you should, that I should come up with a way to make it so you can embed a song on your, the art detail page on CAF. So it's like you can curate your own experience when looking at a piece of artwork.
You technically have an HTML editor in the description field, right?
I know people could do that.
You could technically embed like a music video from somewhere, like YouTube.
You could.
You could, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe I should. Yeah, that'll be fun.
I think you should, and then people just request it as a feature, and then I'll have to make it even easier.
The one thing I know working with music is like the challenges around rights and utilizing music content for your own content is just, it's such a big can of worms. It's just, honestly, it's a pain in the ass. But if you do it in a way where you're giving credit to the original uploader or the source of the content, like with a YouTube embed or whatever, that totally works. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now I'm looking forward to sort of re-editing my gallery. Like re-editing my gallery is one of the things I find to be the most enjoying parts of the hobby and enjoying my own collection. Like I think Ruben one time gave me so much criticism about the way I had my gallery set up that I spent like 10 hours then redoing my gallery and being like, how's this, professor? How did I do? Do you remember that?
I just want to say, I didn't give him so much criticism. I criticized him on one thing. He started using his gallery. He starts posting pieces, right? And what he would do? Let's just say it's Amazing Spider-Man #1, page 1, right? Okay.
Because that's one of my pages that I love the most. Yeah.
Quiet. So this is what Kavi does. He puts the title, Amazing Spider-Man #1, page 1, dash. Well, the reason I really love this page is because blah, 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 blah. He goes on for like 5 sentences in the title, and he leaves the description section empty. I'm like, dude, all you need to do is put what you wrote up there.
Look, I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that on every upload. But it was a good point that he had made to me, and I didn't realize that was looked down upon or that it was like a thing that you're not supposed to do. Like it's not about not supposed to do, because no rules. It's just that when somebody posts something like that and you see that the title is like 5 spread out into 5 different lines,
it's so overwhelming. You're like, what the hell is that? You know?
Yes.
I'm like,
but that is a different topic. That is a different topic. Let's.
Yeah.
How do you enjoy your collection, Ruben?
By the way, we should mention though, Kavi, we should mention that it was my getting in touch with Kavi about that basically led to us becoming friends. So.
That is true. That is true.
Oh, that was your first comment on his gallery? Hey, fix your organization.
You know,
of your
a decision I'm still contemplating whether it was the right thing for my life or not. No,
yeah. You love it and you know it.
Yeah, I know. But what about you, Larry? Do you have anything else that you do to enjoy your collection?
I mean, I'll say it. I probably don't admire my own collection enough. I don't. I mean, actually, when I open a portfolio one day, I mean, I'm looking at like, oh, I totally forgot I had this. Oh, this is the Darwin Cook Catwoman. Where did I get this from? so I do remember it when I see it, but you know, before I open that portfolio, it's been out of my mind. Like so. It's always a surprise sometimes when I look at my gallery. So, I mean, in my portfolio. So, I probably don't admire my collection enough. So, and I mean,
put it on your calendar, dude. Put it on your calendar, man. Do that calendar thing. Like if I don't put workout on my calendar, I ain't working out. Like it just for some reason I've trained my brain to put stuff. Like I literally will put look at my portfolio and do this on my calendar sometimes, and it forces me to do it. Not that looking at art you should feel like you're being forced. Like it's supposed to be. It's all fun, right? It's something enjoyable. But I find that just like reminding yourself that you haven't looked at your collection in a while is a way to jigger.
Yeah, but I get that high from getting new pieces. I mean, like
yeah, dude. Look,
I have it already. So
this is my.
I got my trophy already. I want the mixed trophy.
No, I hear you, brother, because, you know, this is my topic, and I'm trying to explore more ways to enjoy my own collection, but I'm going to be there tomorrow night for Moy and Berkey waiting to pull the trigger, like, if I see something I love, you know? I get a good amount of enjoyment out of that as well. I'm just exploring within the community for more ways to enjoy my own collection, I guess.
I will say this. So me and Jill and a few friends, I mean, it was Spider-Man Day, like, last week, and we went over some Spider-Man art, and I realized I have probably 20 Spider-Man related pieces in my gallery. So I was going through all my, galleries and showing off my Spider-Man art. So things like that is really cool. I mean, it helps me look through all my collections like, oh, I totally forgot it. This is a great piece. So
I had nothing to contribute, so I was happy to look at Larry's art.
So
I don't look at my art enough.
Yeah, none of us look at art enough.
Oh man, well, Kavi, great first topic. We'll be looking forward to you on the show again with whatever the next topic you might bring.
I will be back next Sunday. Yes, thank you.
Oh, good.
Yes,
that's right. You are on the schedule. I forgot about that. You
in a row,
pre-selected. All right, fantastic. All right, hey Ruben, guess what? It's your turn to talk about some artwork.
All right.
And
cool,
and if you pick a Frank Miller piece, you're going to let us know if Frank has any pencils on it, right?
I'll let you know if there's anything off about it,
All right. So let's pull up the first piece selected by Reuben.
All right. Wow. So yeah, no, there's nothing untoward about this particular just FYI. Yeah, man. Sometimes I pick things that they just sort of speak to me for sort of artistic reasons, on the technical side. But I'm like anybody else in this hobby, like most people, man. I just like cool looking art. This is just a classic. Part of the reason I should say though that I picked this particular one, I was in the mood to pick a Miller Daredevil cover. I had other choices, but part of the reason I picked this one was because Kavi is, this being his first show, and he loves Elektra.
I do.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. It has just blown me away ever since I first saw it back in the day. I love the fact that it's, first of all, you got the sort of symbolism with the Elektra's sigh, right? A classic symbol that she's recognized for. And I know it's just a coincidence, but the three prongs of the sai, he chooses pieces. What did he say?
Like you choose your wine.
Oh, okay. And yeah, the prongs of the sai are like, the letter E for Electra, of course, that's just a coincidence. But one thing I always liked about this piece too, the I don't know, do we call it it's not a helmet, but whatever, the headpiece, the headgear of Daredevil. I love the fact that, for anybody who's ever read a lot of Daredevil, he's been shown many times when he's wearing the full costume, and he wants to take off, the headgear. He just basically pulls it off of his face, and it falls to the back of his neck. And so, you always kind of assume that, yeah, it's like, spandex or whatever similar type stretchy material. I just love the fact that it wouldn't look as good if he had drawn it that way. And so I love the fact that he sort of makes it look like it's a hard shell of some sort that you could palm in your hand, kind of like you could a basketball. Just something about it that and with the and then the top is nice and smooth, the top dome part of the headgear, and then juxtaposed by the bottom part of it with all the shredded aspects of the which shows you that it is essentially just material. So that's kind of cool. And I love the Electra portrait. I love that beautiful look on her face. Always been a huge fan of Klaus's inking, his finishing, and in this time period, it like him and Frank were just magic together. So yeah, that's basically all it is. It's just classic. Love it.
Very nice pick. This was in
Eric Roberts.
That's right, Eric Roberts collection. Sorry, I was trying to remember, but yes, thank you.
Should have mentioned.
Man, I would have guessed Mandel. Good job. Oh. Well, choose any pieces from their two galleries are worthy to be on this.
Yes, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, except for when I was really saddened, surprised and saddened when I picked this, that Eric has sort of made a good large portion of his stuff that used to be in his gallery. He's kind of made it inactive. He doesn't really have a lot of stuff anymore showing. So that's a shame. But oh well.
Well, there's a reason for everything.
Yeah.
But that happens in life. But no, very good selection. And on this one, so show you the others piece that Ruben picked.
Sounds good. Yes. I'd momentarily forgotten what I picked. So I picked this one for two reasons. Well, there's probably multiple reasons. I've always loved Romita Jr. Romita Jr. inked by Austin looks great. But it wasn't really the aesthetics as much as I had come across it, and it just gave me the feels because it reminded me instantly about having picked up the issue when it first came out off the stands that week, and reading the book, reading the backup story, and I don't know, I must have been 15 at the time or something like that. And I think it was the first comic that actually made tears well up in my eyes. I didn't cry, but I could feel the wateriness, in my eyes. I was like, it was so poignant and so powerful. This story, the kid who collects Spider-Man. And so had I had scans of the actual story, I would have just spliced them all together and showed that as one stand. But I love this cover anyways, also because I do love the way that how Romita Jr. decided to meld both the first story and the backup story together as one image, with the primary part of the image is actually reflecting, or I guess we could kind of say the whole image. It reflects the backup story, because the design, if you look at carefully, is actually you're kind of inside the room of the kid who collects Spider-Man. Sorry, I forget what his name is. Sitting there as he's opening up his, one of his, I guess, newspaper stories, headlines showing Spidey in battle. And of course, the image on the newspaper happens to be portraying what happens in the first story. Both stories, which of course do not have anything to do with each other when you read them. It's just like I said, just gave me the feels. It was a classic story, and it's just a nice cover, and that a kid's face. As soon as I see that kid's face, it just reminds me of the story immediately, and it's just a lot of people I know remember that story very well and have the same sort of feelings that I do about it. So
I wish they made covers like this again. I mean, I'm sure in the book there's a story about with a kid and it's probably wrecking balls in it, but can you imagine today comics? I mean, covered like this? I don't think I've seen one of these in like decades.
Can you elaborate on that, Larry? I'm not sure I understood, but.
Oh well, you have a cover that reflects the inside story, and then you have like here's a little kid, I guess breaking the fourth wall. I don't know, but just looking at Spider-Man, but is also looking at the audience. So
right.
I think a lot of covers, that come out nowadays are just fairly generic.
Oh no! Listen, you want to talk about generic covers? Yeah, listen. I think it's not a surprise to anybody here that you could say probably for the last, I don't know, couple of decades at least, within the 2000s, from the 2000s onwards, what editors have wanted are basically movie poster style layouts, the pinup shots of the characters for the most part. So that's just kind of where the industry sort of delved into. That's the way it went. And a lot of imaginative type stuff sort of went the way of the dinosaur, but there are some, of course, some people. There are still some artists that still do kind of nice, cool graphic stuff. The stuff that what's his name, Dan Panosian. Anytime he does something, I love his stuff. And there's a few guys, but overwhelmingly, I still do agree that a lot of today's stuff is still very pinup-y. The hero's coming at you, so to speak. And it's fine. It's a classic layout, but it's sort of like enough already. It's too much,
Very true. Very, very true. All right. Good picks, Ruben, as always. So, Larry, you get to bring us home with the fourth topic of the evening.
Okay. So my topic was actually suggested by a friend, and I thought it was a good idea and something to talk about. So, before I say the topic is, just no name dropping. And I want to also make sure the caveat there are imperfect buyers as well as dealers. And, I just want to talk about some of the horror stories I've heard when us as customers are dealing with like some art reps. So one person, they told me they waited over a year for a commission, and the commission was supposed to be on 11 by 17 paper. And this was fully documented in terms of the agreement. And then the customer received art that was smaller than 11 by 17. So it might have been like 9 by 12, but it was smaller, and it wasn't the agreed size. Another issue someone brought up was one seller provided a UPS notification to say it's on the way, but they get that notification that the label was created, but the artwork never got in the mail until like a month later. So I can imagine that could irritate, several, buyers, when it takes a month to just, put the art in the mail. And then from someone else, I mean, they were talking about how they deal with this art dealer who deals with a lot of high end items, items in 5 figures. And then, they bought an art prelim that was probably like 8.5 by 11. And it feels like that 8.5 by 11 didn't get the same respect when it went in the mail because it came creased. So, and then we have these situations where I asked an art rep about a piece and I didn't hear a response, and it's been like 2 weeks. So the topic is how do we deal with these kind of issues with art dealers, or not to say art dealer, but art reps as well. And I mean, I think for the one case where an artist rep doesn't respond back, I mean, after 7 days, probably sounds like they don't want your money. So you probably want to have to move on. I mean, sometimes it's hard to move on, but it's pretty irritating. But So the question to the group is, how should collectors handle these kinds of problems with art reps? I mean, there are some folks who don't want to start drama online. They want to, just, they have an issue, but they don't want to air all the dirty laundry online. So, I mean, what kind of actions can they take? I mean, what should they do? If I receive an art piece that didn't meet the requirements or the terms of what was paid for, in terms of, hey, I wanted to commission 11 by 17 pencil and ink, and it comes back maybe penciled and on 9 by 12, I think that's a serious problem. And if the art rep doesn't respond back to me in a timely manner, I think that would be a little frustrating. So, you guys have any thoughts in terms of how to deal with these kinds of problems?
I always try to give the benefit of the doubt first. I mean, I'm not going to blow somebody up on a first exchange. Like if there's the majority of the issues I've dealt with have been damage. Not surprising with the way some things are shipped or the way some things are handled by some of our mail services. So at that point, I always, but whatever the issue is, just especially with the first email, be respectful, be professional. Think, hey, would you want your grandma to read it? Would it be something that she would respond well to? And then I always like to provide documentation along with it, whether it's a screenshot of an email conversation, attaching the previous email. I take a picture with, my cell phone and send it along with, hey, here's where the corner got damaged. Here was the outside of the box, whatever I've got to use. And I've been pretty successful in resolving issues. And then the other thing I'd suggest to everyone is keep a list. Like when you've got this kind of stuff going on, especially if someone is, owes you something, has offered a future discount, things like that, write it down so you don't forget, because we're very used to in this hobby allowing 6 months, a year, those are not, unfortunately, untypical wait times, especially for, a big piece or from a creator who's also, working actively on a book. So timelines tend to slide. So just keep yourself a list on who owes you what, keep those email trails, keep photographic evidence, and then talk to people respectfully first. I've never blown anybody up on social media. I'm one of those. I don't, I haven't really seen it, come out in someone's favor all the time. So I'm just personally not somebody that tends to do that if there's an issue.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I think Mikhail's comment about sharing it within your own collectors group and trying to gain clarity from other collectors and other people that may have had similar experiences, that's kind of more in where my route is if I'm having an issue with anybody. I've been lucky though, I guess. I mean, collecting only about 4 years so far, and I have not had any sort of major drama as it relates to any published pieces. With commissions, I've only had, I think, one scenario where I ultimately did not end up with the artwork, but I did end up with all of my money back, and I still utilized that money to buy artwork, right, at the end of the day. So I guess I'm in a rare case where I don't have a ton of drama centered around not hearing back from reps. In that one particular case, I was over following up, I guess, according to the rep's opinion, and they took it upon themselves to cancel the commission or outright, right, as opposed to responding back to me in a timely manner, like literally weeks without any updates or anything. And it would always be a one-sided me, what's the deal here? What's going on here? And in some of those follow-ups, I would never hear back. So finally, after 2 or 3 follow-ups without hearing anything back whatsoever, I sent up maybe a little bit more over the top, aggressive follow-up for the 3rd follow-up, right? And then they took it upon themselves to basically cancel the commission and send me my money back. And I was like, whoa, like, was I the one out of line here by following up for something I've already paid for multiple times and not hearing back? And they were kind of framing it as if I was the one out of line, but I had the exact opposite opinion in that scenario. Ultimately, I didn't think it was going to be the stress or whatever, just the process of being like, I wasn't trying to be an asshole about it. I just expect to get a response once a month ish, if possible, not going weeks and weeks and weeks, with it all being a one-sided conversation. So I think that's where I really get, I guess, peeved, is if the conversation feels like a totally one-sided conversation the whole time. And luckily I've only had to deal with that one time. So yeah. Exactly. Welcome to the Black.
So yeah, Ruben's probably in a unique position here because he is an artist rep and he's a dealer. Now, I mean, Ruben, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the purpose of why there's an art rep is because the artist can't be bothered by handling that kind of business. Because as much as horror stories you can have with artist rep, there's a lot of horror stories with artists. Sometimes they just don't have the time to reply back to emails, or they just don't have the time to email. They want to focus on the art. But the purpose of having an art rep is so they can handle, you paying them to handle the business for the artists, to deal with the customers.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, look, to me, it's always been about, it always comes down to just what we learned as kids, respect people, show, respect others, they will respect you, right? In the world of customer service, show respect by handling things in a timely manner, be polite, all those things that we all basically know. We were taught, at least as children, that we should have sort of continued to sort of put into practice throughout our lives. And you're right. That's how any artist representative should absolutely deal with you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. There's sometimes an artist will hook up with a representative who's just not really meant to be a representative. They don't have, the whatever it is, the many things that you require, first of all, as a person, and then as a business person, to be able to properly handle the sales of an artist's work. And it's sad. Listen, I only do it for a couple of guys, thankfully. But you're right. I'm on both sides of the equation, and I'll be totally honest. Despite the fact that, again, even though it's only two guys, you're right. I am a representative. From the collector side of me, I hate dealing with reps. I also, if possible, not as a rule with everybody, right? But I hate the idea that some of them, I typically know who will be easy to deal with, who won't be, who might be, So that's what I mean. And so if ever possible, of course, like a lot of collectors will admit in the chat, whenever possible, you try to find a direct route to the artist if you can, but when you can't, what can I say? You're when you're dealing with a middleman, and it's your first time, you're basically taking chances. You're taking some sort of a risk. You're hoping it's going to go well. Sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it's the artist's fault. Sometimes it's the representative's fault. I mean, what can I say? All I can tell you is, from my perspective, is I've always just tried to answer emails almost immediately if I can, and I usually do. When we've done the agreement, if we have the agreement in place, I typically ship. If it's early enough in the day, I will ship the same day. I will. If it's late in the day, I can't make the cutoff time at the post office, I'll ship it to you tomorrow. I just try to do my side of the transaction as well as I possibly can to make the customer as happy as they can be, and that's it. I can take care of my thing, right? And I can't control sort of what other guys who do what I do. I can't.
Ruben, if you had a poor transaction with somebody, an unhappy customer, do you fear that impacts some of the artists that you rep?
I mean, every situation is different, but of course, there's so many variables, right? So of course it would depend. It depends on, well, what's the situation you're talking about? What happened exactly, right? But as a general rule, you have to go into this if you're representing artists. You have to go into it with the knowledge and understanding that you are essentially the face of that artist. You are you whatever happens on your end can and will reflect on the artist. Vice versa as well, though, right? Whatever the artist may do or not do ends up, unfortunately, sometimes reflecting on the art rep, even though they had nothing to do with it. But again, if you're a rep, for example, that deals with an artist who is known for not sort of being good with handling their end of the transaction, I mean, that's on you as a rep to say, do something to help that guy so that doesn't happen, or drop the guy and just don't represent him, because again, it does the bad blood or whatever you're going to get to customers, it will reflect, of course.
So we're seeing a lot of chat that says people are saying if you got a bad, if there's a bad transaction, call them out publicly. Do you guys agree with that, or do you guys think there are certain conditions when they should be only called out publicly?
I'd probably tell a group of friends, but not like carte blanche on Instagram or Facebook or something like that. Groups talk, and so that kind of that information gets around.
Yeah, I share with mostly my other collector friend group, but I don't think I would ever make like a social media post specifically blasting somebody. Just not really my style.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is have a tight network. So
yeah,
I will say, I had one Facebook group, and someone aired some dirty laundry in that Facebook group and got leaked, and that was a bad situation. That was a mole. So.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'd say there's going to always be a mole in every group, so you do have to,
Yeah.
I'm not saying complain or don't complain, but at the end of the day, if you come off as a regular complainer, Ruben's going to know it too, and he may not want to deal with you as a customer. You just never know at the end of the day what because the hobby is small, like Fish said, that kind of stuff sticks with you, and I get emailed a lot about these situations, and when people are asking, well, how can I complain through CAF? And I say, well, I'd rather you don't complain through CAF. There's enough social places where you can do that, but your first step should be exactly what Jill said, which was be polite, be professional, try to work it out, and because a lot of these times it happens, and Larry, these things have happened to you. You've been at it for a long time, but a lot of the emails that I typically get are from newer collectors who are maybe commissioning for the first time, and they think waiting 3 weeks is too long, and so it's difficult to everybody's got their own experience, but I do think that you got to approach it as calm and level-headed as you can, and but when you reach the point where you want to complain, I always tell them, I mean, there's 5 places on Facebook to complain publicly if you really feel the need. There's the CGC forums. Everybody likes to complain over there. So you can go in any place that you want. CAF's just not a platform. You don't post a picture of the artist in your CAF gallery and say, or the dealer or the rep, I should say, and say this guy's a bad guy, because people have done that. And I have to close it because I'm like, it's not a piece of art, and that's not how you handle things in the hobby. If you're really that passionate about it, there's 10 other places you can do it. But I do. I mean, trust me, I've had I had a bad commission experience early on, and nothing got done, and it was direct with an artist. So you'd think that would be your better situation if you follow, Ruben's thought. It wasn't. And at the end of the day, I got a cover out of the deal from that artist. So I was happy at the end of the day. I didn't get the commission I wanted, and it took 3 years later, and I finally got something that was probably just as good, if not better. So, yeah, but I don't know. But that's my approach to it. I just thought I think, like you said, it's you want to alert people that you're close to if you can, if you're at that point. But I just think any public shaming gets really tough at the end of the day, because you never know. I mean, the reps sometimes at the mercy of an artist who doesn't turn their work around on time. They shouldn't have taken the commissions in the first place. We've seen that happen often enough to know that there's lots of reasons for commissions to go bad. But how we handle that situation defines us as collectors to the rest of the community as a whole. So it's try not to overreact would always be my thing to say.
Yeah, I would say, based on what I'm hearing, from, I mean, I guess one of the things to do is just, consult your friends in the hobby.
Yeah.
Just hear what their thoughts are in terms before hitting that nuclear option to say, publicly shame him. Because you're probably going to get a lot of people being defensive as well, so they're not just the rep itself. So, but consult your friends. Like with Reuben, I mean, if someone had an issue with Reuben, I would probably talk to Reuben privately, say, hey, something's going on here. I think you need to work to help him out. So, but work with your friends. Don't you don't have to handle it by yourself and hit that nuclear option and say, I'm gonna just drag this name in the mud.
Yeah,
very true. Yeah, I mean, I've gone out. I can tell you that there was an artist or two in the history of CAF that took commissions through CAF, and I shut their CAF galleries down when they got into trouble. I just said, come back when you get yourself, get these, because I don't want CAF to be representative of your poor, behavior and inability to finish commissions and those sorts of things. So, I mean, but I didn't do it publicly. But once I got enough complaints, I would do that. And I'm more in Kavi's line too. I would never publicly shame any rep or dealer. I mean, I know, I think closest friends know about it, but it's just not my style. I'd much rather, let that person know, rep or dealer, how dissatisfied I am when I end it, however I have to end it. I would be very vocal with that person about it. I don't feel I need to go shout to the heavens, that this is there, because that's, again, it's.
Yeah, stuff happens, it just stuff happens, unless there's a systematically, like, time after time, the same negative experience keeps happening to you, then you probably should have, changed direction or whatever. But I find that most people, are, being honest with you with the status of the piece or whatever, when it comes to a commission. I appreciate over communication, I guess. From anybody, whether it's another collector or it's a rep. If I'm proceeding with an artwork transaction, just keep me posted. Do your best to keep me posted, and I'll keep coming back and I'll keep doing business with you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to mention that because I've been well aware of all the potential pitfalls in commissioning in particular for decades. When I first asked Mike Perkins if he needed help selling his artwork, and at first he said no, and a year later he wanted to talk about it, and we agreed to do it. But even then, I immediately told him, I don't want to touch commissions. That's on you, because I've just been well aware of all the, because I didn't really know Mike. I knew him a little bit because I had been buying art from him for my own collection for about a year by that point, right? But I didn't know him well enough to know, is this guy going to be a typical flaky artist, right? Who, I'll do your commission, and then and then I got people who are then going to be emailing me every week, hey, any news on my commission? Any news on my commission? For the next year or whatever. Like, I had no clue if he was going to be fast with his commissions or slow or whatever. I just didn't want to deal with all that. For whatever little percentage I would make, it's just way too much work. So I said right away, you handle your own stuff. Now, on the negative side to that is that, I've been working with Mike for, I don't know, 16 years now or something. And in the last couple of years, I kind of found out, like, he had been charging way too little for certain types of commissions. And so I felt like, man, I failed this guy. I really failed him, because here I am selling his art 16 years, his published art anyways, and then I find out he's giving certain types of commissions away for just dirt cheap. I was just like, what are you doing? I'm like, man, I guess whatever. It's my fault in some way, but yeah, no, just it's interesting. Just wanted to make the point that it's such a loaded thing, right? That whole part of the hobby, the collecting commissions, and then especially having to go through middlemen and the art reps and stuff. So I don't envy Wonder effing Woman and collectors like her who whose specialty is collecting commissions, you know, because I just know my own personality. I just wouldn't be able to do it myself. I couldn't put up with all the stuff that goes into that, you know. So yeah, there you go.
Right. And Jason, I know what reps the company. It was all about what's your style. I've never left a Google review either. So that's my approach. I don't go to Yelp and complain when my meal isn't cooked perfectly. But if you do, that's okay. I'm just saying that's my style. Everybody's style is different. And then that's why when the people who come to me and ask me about, where can I, how do I complain publicly? I point them in the right direction everywhere other than CAF. But, that's just my approach to it. If your approach is to make sure that everybody knows when something goes wrong, that's okay. I mean, everybody handles those situations in their own way. And it doesn't, by and large, it doesn't blacklist you in the hobby. I wouldn't, if you say something over here about someone's poor business, another rep is still going to take your money probably twice as fast and hope that you never go back to the guy you had the bad experience with. So they're happy that you had a bad experience with them. So, but yeah, it's all personal choice. Like Kavi said, he wouldn't complain publicly, on a forum or on Facebook either. It's just how you want to handle that angst. And yeah. So good one, Larry. Got everybody riled up.
Larry, by the way, do you have any outstanding commissions at the moment?
I do, but
Okay.
Every person who I've talked to, I mean, they've been very communicative. So
Yeah,
I don't have any issues with them. Yeah,
It's funny. That's funny you say that, because that's the only reason I asked you. Because for me, the whole going through a middleman and doing commissions and stuff, to me, again, it just goes to those early rules we learned as kids, right? Just communicate, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep in touch. How hard is it to keep in touch? And then, me having to chase you means obviously you're not keeping in touch, right? So it's just the communication issue in this hobby is one of the big problems. That's what I think. Like, a lot of people are just terrible communicators, and that causes a lot of the root problems in the hobby. Not only in commission collecting, but even in just trying to contact somebody to say, hey, I'd like to get this piece of art from you. Is it available? And some people just don't know how to communicate. So
Not everybody's great at business. That's
it.
Yeah. And a lot of people that you do business with have other jobs, and they just don't make it, and they don't make it their focus, and that's unfortunate. Because you trust them with your money, and you hope they do a good job for you. But it's not the case for everybody that is out there.
Yeah, and can I ask you a question, or you got to cut this now?
Well, I have 2 minutes for my art, man. So.
Yeah, we got to get to Jill's art.
Oh, you still gonna? Okay, go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll wrap it up. You can send me an email, Ruben. All right, Jill.
I'm gonna be real fast, man. So I got to work tomorrow.
Same here. Yeah.
All right. So I think this is the first time for a Collector Conversations where someone that's a panelist is talking about a piece of art that another one of the panelists is in their gallery. So this is Larry's. This is Selena by Tim Sale. I love this piece. It is definitely fitting in the Larry, strategy with art collecting, where he just buys the pretty art. This is definitely, to me, pretty art. So I know that you had this on your collector spotlight. I like it so much that I think that it deserves even more time in the spotlight. We were talking about how you don't have enough time to enjoy your own collection. So here you go. Kavi, maybe this is another way for people to enjoy their own art. It gets brought up here on Collector Conversations.
Yeah,
so,
I love that piece.
This is great.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that piece. I'm surprised it hasn't been used as a cover, but you know what? It's fine. I still love it.
This is one of those where I can also publicly say, hey, if you ever want to sell it.
So that's why you picked this one, isn't it, Jill?
I had multiple reasons.
No, I love that piece from the day I first saw it. It's one of it's a beautiful one, Larry, and it's got to be one of your treasured pieces of your collection.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I checked my Tim Sale box. I just didn't, I love all the Tim Sale pieces, but that one is just stands out.
It does.
Yeah.
And here's another one from Jill. This is a little bit more colorful.
Last but certainly not least, this is a little bit of a nod, of course, to the recent Masters of the Universe Revelation that came out on Netflix. So this is a He-Man and She-Ra piece by Daniel Govar. This is in the gallery of Ronald Shepard. Govar is one of those masters of watercolor. Like, I kind of think of my go-to guys for watercolor are really Govar and Tony Moy. And I love this piece. I mean, this was my childhood. I watched She-Ra as a kid. My brother watched He-Man. I'd watch it too. I know a lot of people are hating on the new show, but I just think it's fun. As long as you still approach it like it's a kid's show, and these characters are very nostalgic to you, I think it's a good time. So I wanted to pick this piece out as kind of a nod to the recent show being released, and it's just a cool piece. There's just no two ways around it, and the double sword and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought it was cool.
Sorry, whose gallery was this?
This is in the gallery of Ronald Shepard.
Oh, Ronald Shepard. I know that name.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you repeat the artist name, please?
Daniel Govar.
Oh, that's Govar.
Govar. Yeah, Govar.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I've never seen Govar paint a bad piece. This guy's amazing.
Yeah, me neither.
He really doesn't miss. Oh, and in proof, I brought visual aids.
Oh, nice.
This hangs out in my office. Like, seriously, like, I've had this for years. So
Sweet.
Anyway, I am actually a He-Man fan, so that was the other reason for picking that one. But it's fun. Oh, complete with thermos.
You have the power.
Definitely have the power.
Right, and Ronald Shepard, he's I think he only collects commissions and sketch covers and that sort of thing. So his would be a good, he does not collect published art. So I think he's got maybe 800 pieces in his collection. So at least on CAF.
Wow. None of it public. None of it.
It's been a while since I looked at. He's got 394 commissions, 30 recreations, 384 sketch covers, and 4 prelims. So I guess the prelims are close to being something, but they might be prelims to his commissions. So
yeah, exactly.
So no published work whatsoever in his CAF.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everyone's got their own niche. If that's what you like to collect, more power to you.
Oh, no, I mean crazy in a good way, like a crazy number, not bad. I don't mean in a bad way. That's just crazy numbers, man. Wow.
Yeah, Ronald, if Ronald ever sees this, we're not calling you crazy, Ronald. We love your CAF gallery.
Full disclosure.
Jill, I know you've mentioned it in the past, but I don't remember. How many approximately pieces do you have commissions?
Well, total pieces probably a little north of 300, 350 right now. Commissions are probably, I don't know, 70% of that. I do have covers. I do have, I do have pages. I do publish stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit. And what year did you start collecting again?
2015 was when I put in my first request, and then I got that art in 2016.
Wow. Man, you've been moving, shaking it, man. Holy crap. That's 6 years ish. That's a lot of that's a lot of numbers for.
Well, Ruben, I'm pretty sure in your first 5 years of collecting, you buy a lot.
You buy a lot. Yes, I can attest to
Then
this.
you tear it down. Yes.
That's true. Very true.
Yeah.
And that's right too, Jill. You do start paring down when you realize, what the hell am I doing with all this? Yeah.
Quite true. All right. Yeah, we know many collectors who've done that. But listen, spirited topics tonight. This is not the direction I thought all of it was going to go, but it was great. I think that there's certainly some topics here that we can continue on in another chat next week or in future shows. But yeah, thank you once again, everybody. Kavi, great to have you on here, and I'm looking
Thanks
forward
for
to
having me,
you
Bill.
back next week.
Yep.
I wanted to give everybody just some upcoming notes on stuff so you know what the schedule is this week. Obviously, the Moy and Albert, the Moy and Albert. The Albert and Mike thing tomorrow is going to be crazy. It's definitely going to be an enjoyable experience, even if you just want to watch this show. I think I've been working on some good memes for it as well, so it's just going to be fun. I don't care who wins. I think it's going to be an enjoyable thing to finally get Moy in a claim sale kind of position. So,
does anybody really care though, Bill? Really, how many people care about who wins those contests? I've been to see the memes and want to buy art. You know,
those two men care.
Yeah, I'm sure they care a lot.
I can tell you that. I don't care. I just want to have a good show. You know, at the end of the day, I guess they do care.
Yeah.
So, and that's the only side that I'm getting right now. But so that'll be tomorrow night. I've got Scott Wingo on Tuesday night for an interview, which is going to be a lot of fun. We did decide not to do the Wednesday comic art or battle, and so Dueling Dealers will be on Saturday. I've got Wednesday open. I have asked Josh if he'd like to allow us to do a watch party on here where we bring 4 or 5 collectors on screen with me and we talk about auctions or lots after they are over, not before they go up. So Josh hasn't gotten back with me yet, so I can't say that we'll be doing anything Wednesday or not. So we'll see. I'll hopefully have an answer by tomorrow on that one. But other than that, then I've got the CAF update on Thursday. We are, as of this very moment, 3 subscribers away from hitting 2,000. So on Thursday, we will certainly be giving away the sketch cover that Nick Barucci gave me, and we'll be giving away some T-shirts that evening on Thursday. So everybody should tune in, and we'll do the same giveaway thing that I did with the premium membership stuff a little while ago as a way of thanking everybody for putting in the time here with us on this show and everything else we've been doing on the Comic Art Live channel. So look forward to that on Thursday evening. Everybody, again, thank you so much, and great show, and we'll do it again next Sunday.
Good night, everybody.